Declan Rice leaving presents a lot of questions to West Ham going forward. One, who's going to be the replacement for him? How's the midfield going to look? But the big question as well is who's going to be the captain of West Ham? We know Declan Rice effectively has been captain for 2 years. I know officially one, but the season before he was 90% captain because of Mark Noble sort of playing a bit part role in his last year. So we've had Declan Rice really leading the team for quite a while now. First of all, Riley, it's a bit of a shame because effectively now this is the second year on the spin that West Ham have now had to officially change the captain, which is not ideal. And that's my thinking in this. I want to try and avoid another one where it's only going to be a year or maybe two. I think we need to think a bit more longer term. Is there anyone that jumps out at you in our squad at the moment that you think, yep, that's the new captain for West Ham? Because I'll be honest with you, I'm struggling with it. I really am.
Well, obviously got someone like Aaron Creswell, but like you say, I feel like if we're getting a captain in, we probably want them to be a captain for the future, not like a provisional captain who's going to just sort of see out. I mean, Creswell probably won't even play that many games next year, so I say he's probably out. I think Nathan Aguerd is someone we've talked about quite a lot. He seems like a leader. He does make the odd mistake from time to time, but he does seem like a leader, so he would probably be on my list. Obviously, if I've got this idea in my head of building a team around Lucas Paqueta, and I think giving him the captain's armband would be kind of like a signifier of that. Like you're the captain of the club now. We're building the team around you. Just an extra incentive for him, an extra sort of thing to say, look, you're here. You're going to be here for a couple of years. Jared Bowen, again, another player who I think will be there for a long time. But I wonder if he's captain material. Like we've seen him. And we know he can deliver in big moments, but he doesn't seem like one of those vocal players who's going to sort of shout at everybody if they're not doing very well. So those are kind of the names. Also Fabianski, but again, I don't think he's going to play very often. And I don't really like the idea of having a goalkeeper as captain. I feel like you need someone in the defence or the midfield to kind of lead the team and build from the back.
Yes.
So those are kind of the names that jump out to me. I don't know if I'm missing any there really, but we've lost a lot of long-term players and those who are still at the club, like Oggy and Creswell, they aren't going to be here for much longer. I mean, that for me is probably why there's not too many captains jumping out at me at West Ham at the moment.
We're going to get back to the video really shortly, but I just want to let you know this video is actually sponsored by NordVPN. Now, NordVPN are a private network that allow you as a fan to watch games from the comfort of your own home. You can change the region that you're in. It also allows you to watch films, TV shows, things like that. Now, the other big thing is it's also on travel costs. So being West Ham, where you're in Europe again, and also you might want to go on holiday, but you can also save some money on your flights, on your hotels, things like that. It's really worth it. And look, for the monthly subscription, okay, it's less than a pint or a coffee a month. Now, if you go to the link below and using nordvpn.com/West Ham Way, you get 4 months free, completely free. And also after that, you get a 30-day money back guarantee. So just click on the link, go on it, give it a try, see what you think. Anyway, back to the video. No, I'm very much the same. When I was preparing this video, I wrote down 3 names, and funny enough, you mentioned all 3. So first of all, Aaron Creswell. I mean, everyone says, "Oh, that's the natural successor, isn't it?" He's been at the club for, but again, he rarely plays. You know what I mean? Not say rarely plays, but he's about 50-50 much he plays, which doesn't help. And he's only got 1 year left on his deal, so you're kind of thinking, well, if this is his last season, we don't want to do this again. We don't have next season. We go, right, we've got to find another captain. It just seems a bit silly that every year we're replacing the captain. So I'm a little bit against Creswell, actually. As much as he probably is the ideal candidate because of his experience and he knows the club inside out. 10 years at the club now, it does. I understand those characteristics are good points, but I don't want to keep changing. And so for me, I don't want Creswell. I don't think that's the right angle to go at all. Jared Bowen, totally agree with you. He kind of, if he was more vocal and more of a leader, you'd absolutely say he'd be ideal because he's young. He's kind of our main players. He's been at the club for a few years now. Like, in terms of his personal life, he's quite, connected with West Ham, with Danny Dyer and etc. So I don't know. He just kind of ticks the boxes. But like you say, I don't ever see him talking really on the pitch. He's not his character. He just gets his head down and does his job, doesn't he? He's not quite a timid character, if anything. So I can't imagine. You don't get the impression Bowen's the person that's going to walk into a dressing room and give him a rollicking. He doesn't come across like that at all. So again, for me, no to Bowen. I don't think that would be right. Lucas Paqueta, totally agree with you though on the whole you know, what an incentive for him to get the role. How it might make him feel like a bit more like, this is my long-term project being at West Ham. We're going to do a separate video on the Paqueta situation at the moment because there is some rumours going around. But the issue with him is he doesn't speak English, you know, and all right, he might be learning it, but he's, you know what I mean? I don't, is he going to be a leader? I don't know. Like, I mean, Di Canio was our captain, if I remember rightly, and all right, he could speak English, but he was, to be fair, he was very vocal. I get the impression if Paqueta did speak English, he probably would be quite vocal. But that's a big problem. If you can't speak English, you can't really be the captain, can you? If you bet, you know, and I'm guessing he's learning, but I mean, it's probably going to take him a little while. So I think that kind of rules him out. Yeah, don't want a goalkeeper. I've never agreed with goalkeepers being captains, really. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. No, for Gerd's the only one for me then that jumps out, Riley, as being the one that probably will get the role if it has to go to an existing player. You know, he's younger. You think he's going to be here quite a while. He seems happy. The only thing I would say is that with a Gerd, you get the feeling, I don't know, I've seen a few examples this season where his communication with the goalkeepers especially hasn't been great. He does argue quite a lot where they don't talk to each other very well. And that kind of makes you think, is that a good captain? You know what I mean? Someone that's not communicating great. So I don't know, but he does seem to have the character of being a leader. He's not quiet and he's quite confident. So for me, if there's going to have to be a player that's originally, you know, existing at the club, a Gerd for me. That's what I think. So, do you agree with that? Are you saying the same thing? Then you'd rather a Gerd than over the others?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, we've seen it like with Manchester United in the Maguire situation. He was the club captain for a very, very long time, but he was on the bench and he wasn't playing any games. So they kind of just changed their captain week in, week out. But Maguire was the provisional club captain. So if you go down that route, I wouldn't be surprised to see Aaron Creswell as the club captain. But obviously, every single week you've got someone else putting on the armband, whether that's a Gerd, whether that's Paqueta, and then at some point we'll change the club captain to whoever it is that fits in this year. Because for me, there's not a natural leader in those group of players. If I had to absolutely choose one, just based on the fact that he doesn't speak great English, it probably would be a Gerd over Paqueta. But I think in terms of a club captain, I imagine we're going to do. I mean, look, even when Noble was at the club, you know, Declan Rice was the captain, but Mark Noble was still the club captain. So I can imagine us doing something like that and naming someone like Creswell or Bonner the club captain, having them as, you know, because don't forget, Creswell's still going to be in that dressing room at half time. He's still going to be able to bollock players if they're not playing well at half time. He's still going to have to shout from the bench and do whatever he needs to do. And then you've got your provisional captain, your, you know, actual captain in practice playing on the pitch. And that really could be anyone. It's like our penalty situation, that we've got about 3 different penalty takers at the club. And it just seems like every now and then we just choose which the best one is. I can see that being a situation that we go into. But also, we have the option to bring in a new captain if we want to. For me, I don't think that works at all. I don't really understand the whole. I don't know a club that would actively go out and seek a new captain by bringing them in. Maybe they've got like if we brought James Ward-Prowse in, for instance, he might be the captain in a year's time. But I think it's kind of disingenuous and almost a little bit insulting to sort of say, well, we don't think any of you are captain material. I know you've been at the club for a couple of years. I know you've been fighting for your place. I know you've been playing well for us. But this guy's been here for 2 minutes. He's going to be the captain of the club, because that is quite an achievement. That is quite an honour to be bestowed upon someone. So I think bringing someone else in, yes, they're a captain and a leader at a different club. I don't really understand. You bring them in and allow them to be the captain of the football club. For me, it just seems a little bit backwards. But I can see you're probably disagreeing with that.
I don't know. It's a difficult one. You kind of raise a good point. I mean, I wrote down here James Ward-Prowse because I think the only thing with James Ward-Prowse is, like you've already said, he's got the experience, so he knows the drill. He knows how to run be that vocal point in the dressing room. But then, as you say, the only difficulty with that is the players don't know him. You know, he doesn't really know the club. He doesn't know the manager. It's all that kind of stuff. So is it right to bring him in and go, right, you're now the leader of the dressing room? I don't know. And I don't know enough about James Ward-Prowse. I mean, let's just use him as an example. We don't. Is he a likable guy? Is he going to get on with everybody great? I don't know. I don't know enough about him, really. He doesn't seem. I've never really don't see enough of interviews of him to know whether I think he's a really likable guy. The only thing is he's obviously got the experience, so it wouldn't be. you imagine he probably wouldn't feel too much pressure if someone said to me, "Right, you've got to run the West Ham dressing room." He thinks, "Yeah, well, I've been doing that for years. I know the drill." I'm really torn with it. I'm torn. I part of me does want a new captain. I do think West Ham do, especially with our new director of football coming in. You know, we've got Rice leaving. It just gives it a bit of an opportunity for a bit of a freshen up and someone new to come in and go, right, this is what we're going to do. But the thing is, the captain's got to effectively be the manager's right-hand man. So it's got to be someone that Moyes really trusts, really gets on with, and they kind of click with each other.
Oh, Ben Rama's getting it there, mate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, obvious. Yeah, I can't believe you didn't mention him. That's the thing, isn't it? The captain's effectively he's the voice of the manager on the pitch. So it's got to be someone that David Moyes completely trusts. Now, David Moyes might know James Ward-Prowse really well. Who knows? They may be good friends. I have no idea. But that's kind of what I would want. I'd want someone that if West Ham are going to go out to the market to go and effectively get a new player in that's going to be the new captain, then Moyes, that has got to be completely bought into that, because he's not going to want someone thrown at him and say he's the captain, because that's surely got to be David Moyes' choice, who's going to be the captain of the side. My thoughts on it, mate, is that this is really important, actually. This is a big decision West Ham have got to get right. It might seem a bit trivial at times, captains. Does it really, really matter? But I do think you do need a leader. You do want someone that's going to lead the team. Declan Rice has obviously been doing that for the last couple of years. Declan Rice is a strange captain for me, because as much as I do like Declan and do like it, I do sometimes get the feeling that he's a bit too matey with the players. That's always been my slight dislike about it. I just think he's a bit too happy, jovial, and I don't know whether that's what I want from a captain sometimes. I quite like the idea of a captain not being overly matey with everybody. I get that you still want a bit of a good relationship, but I quite like the old school captain that's like a bit of a Roy Keane that can happy to give bollockings in dressing rooms. Is Rice that person? I don't know whether he's ever really been like that. I don't know, but I don't get the feeling he's too much like that. James Ward-Prowse, on the other hand, you get the feeling he probably has been a bit like that. He's a bit vocal. He's been doing it for quite a while. I don't really know, but I am torn. But it is a new chapter. We did this in a previous video. It's a new era for the club. It probably is a good time to get a new captain in. But it's a tricky one how we play it. My gut feeling is that it will be an existing player. I do think that West Ham will. That's my gut feeling. And if I'm going to pick someone at the moment, I think it has to be a Gerd, because just on the basis that I don't think there's anyone else that can do it. But the big thing is going to be in this, mate, is Tim Steidten. Is Tim Steidten looking at this going, I'm picking the captain. I know who we're going to get. I know the correct leader for the club. I don't know. This is going to be something I'm sure they'll be discussing, but yeah, my gut feeling is after having this, I've kind of torn really between two ways, and I was going down one path originally thinking we're going to get a new captain in, but the more I've thought about it from what you've said, I'm not sure now. I'm not sure. But make no mistake, mate, they've got to get this decision right, haven't they?
Yeah, they definitely have it. And if it was up to me, I think we would bring someone in this summer that is going to be the captain next summer, because I think the captain's role at the club as well is to come in and shepherd new players, show them around the grounds. Give them a nice warm feeling. I feel like you don't want to bring someone into the club who's then got to take on that much responsibility of all these people that I don't really know that well. I've got to then, the first impression I've got of me is I'm going to give you a bollocking in the dressing room and tell you off. I feel like that's just a terrible way to start off friendships and start off building a relationship with the team. So if it was up to me, I would sign someone this summer that I'm thinking to myself, right, they're going to be the future captain of West Ham next year. They're going to settle in with the club first year. We know they're going to be the captain, and they will be the captain this year, but we're going to let them settle in first. And then even if it's midway through the season, even if it's just, but I think bringing a captain in for next season, because like you say, I don't think there's an obvious captain jumping out at me at the moment. But then again, I don't think Declan Rice was an obvious captain, because you could be passionate, you can be the best player you want to, and it's not always about being bollock in the dressing room. Sometimes it is about having a smart head and knowing when to call certain plays or knowing when to tell people to go forward. But for me, you want someone who's very vocal, very sure of themselves, and has a good rapport with the team, and also is close with the manager. And to be honest, there's no one I can think of in this club at the moment who fits that bill. So if it was up to me, I would definitely be signing someone this summer as a future captain. But it's definitely something we need to get right.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I think it's something we've got to get spot on. It's a big one. It is a big one. And it's quite a difficult one even discussing it, isn't it? Because you can see there's going to be a lot that we are torn, even as fans. Like, nothing's quite obvious of what to do here. It's a real tricky one. It's actually left us in a bit of a tricky situation, this whole Rice situation, because there's no one natural to succeed him. Yeah, time will tell, mate. But I think that's going to be quite high on the list for Mr. Steidten and Moyes to get this spot on this summer. Bye.